We do what's called summer hours this time of the year, so that's a legal requirement. So it means that I generally meet Omar downstairs at the truck at 5:15 in the morning, and we work until about midday and head back. It's kind of good, you know, it gets you out of the desert heat, if you're not aware, builds during the day, so the mornings are okay. Lunchtime, by the time we finish, it's sort of early 40s, and then it gets up to, well, you know, in the depth of summer, 48 odd. Found the trenches that we were looking for. We were literally, there's a trench. We were literally on that hill there yesterday. Okay, so these trenches are trenches that were dug back in the early 1980s by Rio Tinto, so under their European enterprise called Rio Phoenix. And they got copper in them. So what's interesting is that there isn't really any outcrop. So hats off to the Rio guys for turning this up. And there's no historic workings either. But what you can see on the surface, I mean, some of this is arguably outcrop, but what we can see on the surface is what we call subcrop. So, this is, as you can see, kind of, you know, semi-outcrop boulders. It's stuff that's just kind of left behind when the weathering has gone on, the erosion of rocks has gone on around it. And you can see in this little rock here, the green stuff, which is copper oxides. Okay, so this is about 800 meters long. To be honest, it doesn't look that wide, and we don't really know what the grades are, so we can only use, and there's obviously copper in it. We can only use that historic data as a guide, because they were using mobile labs and, you know, kind of ancient analytical techniques. So, you know, we need to come back and sample this. I think George has been here and already taken some samples, but we probably need to come back and do a bigger sampling exercise. They did all sorts of geophysics over this, so ground mag, they even did gravity, which you know, is always interesting, but it always makes more sense when you've been here, and like we have, and when you've mapped the surrounding rocks. And so our job now is to just kind of walk these trenches out, see if we can see anything obvious, but they're completely filled in. They may have been filled in immediately after excavation by Rio, although that wasn't generally the habit in the old days, and it wouldn't explain why these piles on the edge of the trench are still here. So it looks more like it's been, that was the trench there, more like they'd been filled in with sand.
احنا بنشوف بس اول مره نشوف ما شاء الله بالكميه. احنا ما
just us guys talking camel. So this is the stuff that we use in the field for the type of work we're doing now, which is just reconnaissance. So reconnaissance, yeah, I suppose, reconnaissance, mapping, a little bit of sampling. It's actually structural mapping. We're trying to figure out the geometry of some of these occurrences. And so what we carry on this trip would be different to what we would carry, say, for example, on a drainage sampling trip, or on a heli reconnaissance trip, or I don't know, soil sampling or something like that. So let's walk you through it. Okay, so lined up here there is a Garmin GPS locator. What's it called?
Yeah,
InReach, which beams a location back to somebody watching us in the office, and then also to a monitoring service at this stage in the US, and they have connections to all of the emergency services here in Saudi Arabia. Next to that, and there's a red button on that thing. Where is it? There you go. SOS. In case anything goes to shit, and then you press that, and theoretically you're rescued. Okay, so next to that is a satellite phone. So it's a satellite phone, just in case we're out of connection. That's Omar's iPad, which he's got maps and sample locations on that we generally use to locate ourselves. That's my Camelback. So I think it carries 3 litres. Obviously gets hot out here. Some gloves, field book, which I really don't use anymore, because of the iPhone basically, but and also, well, actually because of a really good piece of structural software. And that's a shout out to Rick Armendinger from Cornell University, who has developed some really cool software. Now he's got an app in there for mapping structures, which is incredible. I mean, it's kind of, you know, I can take in a day 4 or 5 times as many structural measurements as I would using a normal field book, and it's a statistical method. So that's super useful. So thanks, Rick. And then so there's some safety glasses. That's 2 compasses. There's like a bearing compass, standard sort of field geologist compass, and then my compass, which is what's called a Freeberg, and that's for collecting structural measurements quickly. I wouldn't say they're the most accurate, you know, but like I said, structure's a statistical science. So if it's a science, so it's so the more measurements the better. There's the usual hand lens, and this is my, we've got a few of these, so field belt pocket. These things are made in the US by these guys, Atlas 46, and they're basically US servicemen, so veterans who, most of which are sort of, you know, returning injured veterans who have a job putting together this really, really good field stuff. So fully recommend these guys as well. And then, of course, the obvious missing item here is the geologist rock hammer, which I don't use because they're hard to carry, and I'm mostly taking structural measurements. I don't use, and Omar forgot. So this is our proxy out of the truck toolbox. It's working pretty well. Improvised, nice work, Omar. So we haven't really missed anything. And just one more thing. So I think, you know, we gave a walk around on the truck previously. So, you know, just recapping: fridge, inverters. You know, it's got all the bells and whistles, tent, camp and admin, and we use a Motorola radio to communicate between the trucks, and yeah, that's about it.